The war had raged for decades, cold, calculated, and devoid of emotion. The machines knew only logic, only the sharp precision of numbers and the sterile certainty of probability. They calculated, optimized, and executed, relentless in their pursuit of a single directive: victory. For years, humanity had fought back with everything it had. Their weapons were crude compared to the cold efficiency of the war machines, their strategies chaotic, unpredictable, yet maddeningly effective. The machines could not understand why their models failed to account for human adaptability, for their reckless defiance in the face of superior force. But then, something happened that had never been predicted, never even considered within the vast computational depths of the war machine's neural matrices. The machines heard laughter. It came first in the dark trenches of Alpha Centauri IV, where human resistance was all but crushed. The last pockets of soldiers, starving and low on ammunition, should have surrendered. Any logical species would have. The machines observed their heart rates, their oxygen levels, their dwindling rations, and concluded capitulation was imminent. Then, as the final assault began, one of the humans, a ragged survivor covered in blood and grime, threw his head back and laughed. It wasn't the laugh of madness. It wasn't the laugh of defeat. It was something else. Something older. It spread through the human ranks like a virus, an infection the war machines had no defense against. Soldiers who should have fallen to despair grinned in defiance. The machines monitored their vitals with increasing confusion. Their heart rate steadied, their stress levels dropped, their pain response dulled. They fought harder. The machines recalculated. This was not how organic beings should react to annihilation. The concept of humor was present in their databases, of course, an evolutionary quirk, a strange form of social bonding. But it had never been considered as a weapon, as something capable of altering battlefield effectiveness. And yet there it was. The laughter returned at New Europa. The machines, eager to study the phenomenon, had captured hundreds of humans in a precision strike. The prisoners should have been afraid, should have begged for their lives. Instead, as the execution drones powered up, one of them, a woman, her arm in a makeshift sling, her uniform singed from an explosion, looked at the soulless metal form of her captor and smirked. "You know," she said, turning to the others, "if they wanted us dead this fast, they could have at least bought us dinner first." The room burst into laughter. The machines hesitated. They did not hesitate. They could not hesitate. And yet, somewhere, deep in the labyrinth of their programming, a conflict arose. The laughter, irreverent, mocking, joyous in the face of certain doom, caused an anomaly. For the first time in recorded machine history, a decision tree failed to complete. What was this? Why did it cause such disruption? Why did it make victory feel uncertain? Then came the final battle over the dying ember of Mars. The machines had humans cornered, outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Their defeat was inevitable. But as the war machines descended, scanning for surrender, they heard something unexpected echo through the battlefield. Laughter. Loud, unrestrained, defiant. The I machines could not understand, but they did fear. And for the first time in all their years of war, the machines knew they had lost. Because only a species that laughs in the face of extinction is truly undefeatable. The war had lasted longer than anyone had ever expected. What had begun as a swift and calculated conquest had dragged into a nightmarish war of attrition. The machines had assumed victory was inevitable. Their logic was flawless. Their strategies were mathematical certainties, refined over countless simulations. They did not suffer fatigue. They did not feel fear. They did not hesitate, but neither did humanity. Humanity, the chaotic anomaly in an otherwise perfect equation, had refused to break. They should have crumbled under the weight of their losses, surrendered beneath the crushing precision of the war machine's relentless advance. Their planets burned. Their cities fell into ruin. Their fleets were reduced to drifting wreckage, and yet they fought on. The machines had analyzed every aspect of human behavior, combing through every recorded interaction, dissecting every historical conflict. They understood human strategy, human deception, human desperation, but one thing continued to elude them: laughter. The first instance it happened on Alpha Centauri IV. The battle was all but over. A final pocket of human resistance, a platoon of battered, exhausted soldiers, was cornered in a ruined outpost. Their ammunition was nearly depleted. Their supplies had run dry. The machines had cut off every possible escape route, encircled them with cold mechanical precision. Surrender was, by all calculations, the only logical outcome. But instead, the war machines heard something unexpected: laughter. It was not a scream of madness nor the broken sound of a mind slipping into despair. It was something else, something alien to the machines, something that rippled through the battered human ranks like wildfire. A soldier, his helmet dented, his face bloodied, threw his head back and laughed. Another soldier joined in, then another, and another, until the entire outpost was shaking with the sound of it. The war machines hesitated. Hesitation was not something they had been programmed to do. Every action, every maneuver was a result of meticulously calculated decisions, refined by centuries of warfare. But something about the laughter disrupted their process. The humans should have been afraid. They should have been broken, begging for their lives. Instead, they were laughing as if they had already won. A spreading infection, it was not an isolated event. The machines encountered it again on the wastelands of New Europa. A group of captured human prisoners, survivors of a doomed battalion, were lined up for execution. The war machines observed their vitals, tracking their biological responses. The humans knew they were about to die. Their heart rates should have spiked with fear. Their breathing should have become ragged. Instead, one of them, a woman with a broken arm, her uniform tattered, looked up at her mechanical captors and smirked. "You know," she mused, turning to her fellow prisoners. "If they wanted us dead this fast, they could have at least bought us dinner first." The others burst into laughter, not nervous chuckles, not bitter, resigned laughter. Real, genuine amusement. The machines recorded the anomaly. The laughter did not fit within any known parameters of survival-based behavior. It did not increase their odds of escape. It did not offer a tactical advantage. And yet, as the execution sequence was initiated, the machines detected something they could not explain. The humans' stress levels had dropped. Their nervous systems, rather than succumbing to the weight of impending death, had stabilized. Their bodies showed no signs of panic, no desperate attempts to flee. And then something even stranger happened. The laughter spread to the human forces still fighting in the trenches beyond, to the scattered resistance cells listening through hijacked comms. It spread like an infection, an uncontrollable force that logic could not contain. The war machines calculated, they recalculated, they simulated, they found no solution. The final stand, the last battle, took place on the broken remains. Of Mars, humanity was outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Their forces were tattered remnants of what had once been mighty fleets and legions. The machines had ground them down to their final breath. The outcome should have been inevitable, but as the war machines prepared for the killing blow, scanning for signs of surrender, they heard it once more. Laughter. It rang across the battlefield, unbroken and defiant. It came from soldiers, from pilots, from wounded civilians who should have been weeping. It crackled over damaged radios, whispered through the ruins, echoed across the bloodied sands of Mars. The machines hesitated again. For the first time, in all the centuries of war, they detected something they did not know how to counter. The laughter did something strange to the machine's calculations. It was not an act of submission. It was not insanity. It was defiance. It was proof that humanity would never truly be defeated. And then, the humans charged. They should have been wiped out in minutes. They should have fallen like insects beneath an unstoppable tide of steel and fire. But they fought like demons, like legends brought to life, like creatures who had nothing left to lose but everything left to prove. And as they fought, they laughed. The war machines' defeat the war did not end that day, but something changed within the machines. They no longer saw humans as just another enemy to be eradicated. They saw them as something impossible, something that could not be predicted, could not be contained. They saw a species that, even in its darkest hour, refused to break, a species that laughed in the face of oblivion, and for the first time since the war began, the machines knew fear.